Okay, good evening, everyone. So, as you know, today we have a third session on our course of WebGIS Full Stack Development. So, in Full Stack Development, the most important thing what we have to know, that is the complete architecture of our application. Because you have seen many courses are available in market. Even not only market, we are also providing. Previously, we provided many different courses. Like one course is for the front end development, one course is for the back end development, one course is for the database. The biggest problem what student has faced, they were able to understand the front end development, back end development, GIS server and data, but the problem is how these things are integrate. Because whenever we are talking about any application, it means we have to know about how all these components are going to integrate to make full-fledged application. So because of that problem, we have started the course of full stack WebGIS development, because in one course you will get everything, and along with this different development, front end, back end, database, you will get to understand about how these technologies or how these things are going to handshake, how these things are going to communicate each other. So in continuation to that, we are going to discuss about architecture of the website. Because whenever you go for the interview, and when you are telling I am coming from the full stack development domain, or I have knowledge of full stack development, so they are not only just asking you question related to the development. Other than that, they will ask you what are the different type of architecture we have in the software development. So these things also we are going to cover in our course. So whenever we are talking about the architecture of any application, so in any application there are three main important things we have. One is what user is able to see. Okay. The first important thing is whenever you are developing any application, so the most important thing is what user is able to see. Like let's suppose Google Map. So in Google Map, user can search the location, user can find the distance, user can find the navigation, user can create the route. So the user interface or UI part, UI means user interface. Some terminology also we need to understand when we are in the development. UI and UX. What is the meaning of the UI? Can anyone tell me what is the meaning of the UI and UX? What is the meaning of UI and UX?
UI user interaction.
UI means user interface and UX means user experience. Okay. So whenever we are developing any application, so there is one part where user is going to interact. That part is called the application part. When user are interacting with the application, then definitely in background there will be a database. there will be a database, and there will be a some logic what we are using. Let's suppose we have developed one application for municipal corporation. There you are just showing, or you have given the facility where user can search his land, and he can get how much property tax is pending. Correct. So in that situation, what will happen? There will be a front end application part where you will give facility where user can select the plot, user can search the plot, user can see this thing on the map. And whenever user will try to search the plot, then definitely you will have all the plot detail in the database. That information we will try to get from the database and will show on the application. In between, you are going to put some logic. Logic means what? You have thousands of plot. How you are going to search one particular plot which is belong to the user? For that, you are going to write some logic. Ki where plot number is 101, where owner name is equal to Yogesh Sharma, where plot type is residential. So these logic is there. So in any application architecture, the most important these three things we have. One is the application part, other one is the business logic part, and third one is the data part. Understood? Based on based on these three concept, based on these three concept, in any application, there are three important layers you will get. Doesn't matter you are going to develop an application in Node.js, ASP.NET, React, Angular, everywhere you will get these three main layers of any application. One is presentation or client layer. Second one is the business layer. Third one is the data layer. In the presentation and client layer, we are going to keep all those files which are useful to create the user interface, create the UI of your application, how your UI will looks, what kind of images you are going to use, what kind of color, what kind of style, what kind of thing you are going to use to show the user. These all information we will keep where? We will keep in the presentation layer. Then after any logic, whatever the logic you are going to use in your application, that logic we are keeping where? That logic we are keeping in the business layer. And ultimately all the data on top of that, we are using the logic and showing the information in our presentation layer. These all data we are keeping where? We are keeping in the data layer. So all the functions which are related to the data, all the things, all the activities which are related to the database, that thing we will try to keep in the data layer. All the business related information, like if you want to get the plot rate, plot cost, plot pricing, plot type, plot area from different database. These all logics we are keeping where? We are keeping in the business layer. So this is basically, this concept is important for how you are going to structure your project. So in any project, always remember there are three categories, three folders will be present. One is the presentation. Folder name presentation means this is called presentation layer. Everything which are related to the user UI, that we will keep there. All the logic we will keep in the business layer, and all the data related things we are keeping in the data layer. Now, after that, the presentation layer, what I already explained you, like presentation layer is also called the client layer. Why it is called a client layer? Because client is not going to interact with the data layer. Client is not going to interact with the business layer, because business layer and data layer, this will be always in the secure zone. No one can directly hit, no one can directly use the data layer or business layer, because ultimately we are the client, we are the user. So whenever user want to use any application, so that he will always interact in the presentation layer. So presentation layer is also known as the client layer. This is the topmost layer of the application. As you know, like whenever anyone is trying to access your application, the presentation layer is the topmost layer which client is using. This is the layer which we will use when we will use any software. Whenever you are using any software, as you guys already know, there are n number of examples are there. Even ArcGIS Pro, QGIS, any website, whatever the things you are using, what user is using, that will come under the presentation layer. By using this layer, we can use application UI. This may be Windows or web. We are always trying to develop a good UI. We are always trying to develop a user-friendly UI so that user can use your application properly. The main functionality of this layer is communicate with the application layer. So like here, whenever you are using the presentation layer means whenever user is interacting, then always, let's suppose, for example, you have developed one web application where you will have one login page. Whenever user will use the login page, user will provide the credential, ID and password. And when he will click on the login, so where this request will go? This request will not directly go to the database. This request will go to business layer. Then business layer will interact with the database. Then it will decide if this user has rights or this user has authorization or not. Okay. This layer pass the information which user will provide. Example like Gmail and any user input page. After that, we have the application layer. Application layer is also called the business logic layer. Business logic layer is basically, as I already told you, business logic layer, whatever the logic we are going to write, that we are going to write in the business layer or application layer. This layer play a role of mediator between the presentation and database layer. So because we cannot provide direct access to the user to interact with the database, because of that reason, we will always have one middleware. That middleware is basically taking the request from the user, interact with the database, and again send response to the user ki you are authorized or not. In development, like the things what we are going to cover in our course, as I told you, and even you have seen in our brochure, in front end development or the presentation layer. In presentation layer, we are going to use HTML5, JavaScript, CSS. For showing the map and map related operation, we are going to use leaflet. These things comes under where? These things, if you will understand, these things will always come under the presentation layer. Now, what will come in the business layer? What will come under the business layer? The REST APIs. The REST API is what we are going to develop in our course. That REST API is always play a middleware. Middleware means it will take the request from the user, use the database, and send response again to the user. So in our course, as a business layer or as a middleware, we are going to learn what? We are going to learn the Node.js. So it responsible for the logic processing. All application important logic developer will put in this particular layer. It makes the communication faster and easier between the client and data layer. Till this point, anyone have any confusion, any doubt? Feel free to ask. Anyone have any question, or we can move forward? Is this clear to everyone till this point?
Yes, Sagush.
Okay. Now after that, coming to the data layer. Data layer is specifically will control and we mention every functions which are related to the database, like login, get all user by type. If I will send a role is admin, I want to get all the users which are admin. If we are developing a survey application and we have two type of user, admin and surveyor, I want to get all the users which are surveyor, then that these all kind of function which are basically interact with the direct database. So all these functions which we always write where? We always write in the data layer. It contains method to connect the database and required operation. So like if you want to connect with the database connection, database disconnect, these all operations related functions we are writing in the data layer. All application important logic developer will put here only. So all the core logic which is going to interact with the database, these all things we are writing where? We are writing in the data layer. So these are the three important layer. This is basically from the starting of the software development. This is remains same, means it is not change, and even it is not going to change. Somewhere here and there you will get sometime the cloud computing and all, but ultimately for any application development or any software development, these are the three layers what we will have. One is the presentation layer, business layer, and data layer. So when we are talking about the architecture of any software, so you guys already, I think you already heard about one tier architecture, two tier architecture, three tier architecture, and n tier architecture. What is the meaning of this terminology in software development? Because whenever whenever you go for the interview, in interview maybe interviewer can ask you what kind of application you have developed, like you have experience in the two tier architecture, three tier architecture, or n tier architecture. So to understand or to talk about the architecture, we need to understand what is the meaning of one tier, two tier, three tier, and n tier. So one thing I believe you understood, ki first of all, in any application, in any application, we required, or in any application we have three important layer. One is presentation layer, business layer, and data layer. Because this architecture design of any software, one tier, two tier, three tier, and n tier, these things is again depends upon three layers what just now we have discussed. So if you are clear with all these three layers, then it will be very easy to understand you what is the one tier, two tier, three tier architecture. So coming to the one tier architecture. So in one tier architecture, like if I will try to explain you as a layman language, so when I am going to develop a enterprise application, so in enterprise application normally when we are talking about three layers, presentation layer, data layer, and business layer, so normally people are considering three machines or people are considering three server. Correct? You guys heard about that thing, na, ki, database server, this is the application server, this is the middleware server. So normally in any company, in any company, whenever we are talking about the software development and even after completion of the development, when we will have in the deployment phase, then client can ask you or your manager or your means end client can ask you how what machine requirement you have for the different type of servers. So let's suppose just assume we have three machine means we have three server. One server we are going to keep everything which is related to the presentation means application and UI part we are going to keep in one place. Middleware, middleware means Node.js application I am going to deploy on in one machine. And database is obviously we are going to keep on the third machine. So we have these three layers, presentation layer, business layer, and data layer. So when we are talking about one tier software, one tier architecture, in one tier architecture, all these three layers, in one tier architecture, all these three layers will be keep on one machine only. Okay. In one tier architecture, all these three things you will get in one machine only. Like the best example of this one is any MP3 player, Microsoft Office, or let's suppose SQL. When we are talking about the MP3 player, currently, let's suppose if you have installed one MP3 player in your machine, or let's suppose you have installed MS Office in your machine, correct? So when we have installed MS Office in our machine, we are using the MS Office in our machine, same machine. We are creating the file and that file we are keeping in the same machine. And if any, let's suppose you are working in the Excel file you are keeping in the same machine. Excel formula you are using in the from the UI and software itself you are using in one machine only. So this is the example or best example of the one tier system, one tier software. So MS Office is the example of what? This is the example of the one tier architecture of the software development. Now after that, coming to the two tier architecture. What is the meaning of the two tier architecture? In two tier architecture, we are using two different server. Okay. In two tier architecture, we are using two different servers. In one server, we are using for the UI presentation layer, and another server we are keeping our database or data layer. The best example of this one is if you guys have experience in any database like SQL Server or Postgres or PostGIS or Oracle, any database. So if I will take the example of the Postgres database, so in Postgres database, we will have one software. That software name is the PG admin. PG admin we can install in n number of machines. If I will take only two machine example, so I will install the PG admin where I will install the PG admin in this machine and I will install the database in which machine? Database in this machine. So using the PG admin, because PG admin software is useful to create the table, select a query, insert query, update query, all these things. So in this machine, we can install the PG admin software and we will keep the database where We will keep the database here. So this software architecture is called what? This is called the two-tier architecture. So in two-tier architecture, in one machine, presentation layer is compulsory. Business layer is optional. The business layer may be on maybe on this machine or maybe on this machine, and data layer will be definitely on the second machine. If you will take the example of any application which is directly interacting with the database, so in one machine you are keeping only presentation part where user will interact, user can see, but database user cannot touch, because database you have keep where you have keep in some different machine. And business layer, that is up to you, if you have business layer on the same machine or if you have business layer on this machine. So ultimately in two-tier architecture, we are going to use how many machines? We are going to use only two machines or two servers. Clear hai till this point? When I am talking, when I am saying two machines, so it is not like in this complete system only two machine. Two machine means one server I have kept somewhere, and now you are using the browser, you are accessing the application. So ultimately how many servers or how many layers are going to interact? Only two, because you are accessing the web application and we have database and business layer on another server. So whenever you are accessing something, so only one machine is going to interact with your request. So that architecture is called what? That architecture is called the two-tier architecture. Now when we are talking about the three-tier architecture, in three-tier architecture there are three servers will be there. One is the presentation layer, means let's suppose if you are working in one software, that software when you will access, you are accessing from where? You are accessing from the presentation layer. Means this is one machine where we have deploy the application. This is one machine where we will deploy the middleware, and this is one machine where we will deploy the database. So if we have this kind of architecture, so that is called what? That is called the three-tier architecture. When we are talking about the three-tier architecture, so as I told you, front end matlab presentation layer. Presentation layer, you can use what? You can use HTML, JavaScript, CSS, Node, this leaflet, open layer, ArcGIS, JavaScript API. These all things come where? These all things comes under the presentation layer or front end development. This business layer, middleware, or business layer, we are using Java, .NET, Node.js, Python, C Sharp. There are n number of languages are there. So in our course, we are going to develop middleware or business layer using what? Using the Node.js. After that, the third layer. The third layer is what? It is the data layer. In data layer, that is depends upon your company. Sometime people are using Postgres, sometime SQL server, sometime Oracle, sometime DB2. There are n number of databases are there. In our course, the database what we are going to cover, that is the Postgres and PostGIS. So when we are talking about the three-tier architecture means this is the full stack. So now if you have each and every tier, knowledge, presentation layer, business layer and data layer, because whenever you go for the interview, interviewer can ask you the question ki what technology you will use in the front end development, or what technology you will use in the presentation layer, what technology you will use in the backend development. Backend development means the business layer development. What database you know. So these are the questions what you can expect in any interview. So answer, I believe you guys understood. what is the presentation layer and what technologies we are going to use in the presentation layer, what is the business layer or middleware, what technology we are going to develop the business layer, and for the database, what database we are going to use, that is depends upon the project. Now after that, coming to the entire architecture is nothing. If once you understood the three-tier architecture, entire architecture is the high scale form of the three-tier architecture. Normally, when we are in the GIS development, so as you know, in GIS, there are majorly there are two type of data what we are using. One is the raster data, and other one is the vector data. So normally in any GIS application, when you are thinking about the architecture of the GIS application, so normally GIS application work on the entire architecture, because in one machine you will deploy your application, means your front end. In one machine you will keep all your business logic. But when you are coming to the database, in database you required two machines or two servers. In one machine or in one server you will keep your all vector data, and in one machine you will keep your all raster data. So based on the vector and raster, if there is a very high scale application, then we can create two machines for the business layer or middleware also. That is the required based on the requirement of the project. But the concept of the entire architecture is what? If the data is high, then we are keeping two machine for that. So that time that architecture is called the entire architecture. So here, summary of the architecture and design is one tier architecture. What is the description? All in one. Everything we will keep in one machine. UI, logic, your business and data, everything we will keep in one machine. Two-tier architecture means what? There will be one client and one server, means one machine, one server where we will deploy our application, and another server where we will deploy our database and logic and all these things. So there will be two machines, two servers, that is called the two-tier architecture. After that, coming to the three-tier architecture. In three-tier architecture, UI we will keep in one machine, logic we will deploy in another machine, and database we will keep in another machine. So this is called three-tier architecture. After that, when we are talking about the n-tier architecture, so in n-tier architecture, basically there are, this is useful when we are working with a very high scalable system. Like for example, you we all are using the Amazon, we all are using the Netflix, we all are using those application which are running in world level. So you can think how those people are managing. Same Amazon we are using in India, so same Amazon people are using in US, same Amazon people are using in some different country. How they are managing all these things? So in that kind of situation, they have n number of server, means sometime as we discussed the entire architecture, sometime, or like Amazon and the big companies, they have thousand of servers. Thousand of servers means this is a thousand tier architecture. So entire architecture is always useful when we are working with very large scale application. Okay, so this is all about the architecture, system architecture and design. And as I already told you, in every session, normally I will always try to basically keep the questionnaire, and and even in my brochure also I have mentioned that in this course we are going to cover around 500 MCQs. So that MCQs are basically useful for useful for you, especially for the examination or interview. That is later. But for now, why this is useful? I believe that when you guys are present here for the session, so you should be 100% present in the session, and this questionnaire is always related to the same session only. It means we are not going to ask a question from different topic and all. So whatever we have discussed today, these questions will be always related to the same topic. Like here, what is the main purpose of the software architecture? You can unmute yourself. You can unmute yourself and you can provide the answer. What is the main purpose of the software architecture?
To define the structure of an application.
Very good. So which of the following is the best described architecture? Which of the following best describes the architecture? Music player, blueprint of the structure, database query, or the programming language? We already have seen the music player. Music player is the one tier architecture. Which layer is also known as the client layer?
Business layer.
Presentation layer.
No. Presentation layer.
Presentation layer.
Okay, so
Okay.
because of that, actually, this is this question is not just to check the your capability or something. This is just means at least for the question we will be more focused on the session. Which layer is visible to user while using the software?
Presentation.
Presentation layer.
Presentation layer.
What is the main function of the presentation layer?
Communicate.
Communicate with the application layer. Very good. Gmail user interface is an example of which layer?
Presentation.
Presentation layer. Which layer is also called the business logic layer? Which layer is also called the yes? The application layer act as a mediator between
Presentation layer and
Presentation.
data layer. Which are the important application logic mainly where are important application logic mainly written?
Application layer.
Correct. Which layer is responsible for the logic processing?
Data layer.
Business layer. Business layer, na?
Okay.
Logic processing, all the business logic we are always keeping where? We are always keeping in the business layer. And business layer, basically it is responsible to process any logic. In which layer data is stored?
Data
Data
layer.
layer.
Data
Data
layer. Which layer connect with the database? Which layer connects with the database and perform the operation?
Data layer.
Data layer. Which architecture contains presentation, business and data layer in same application?
Single tier.
One tier architecture, na?
Yes.
Correct. MP3 player is the example of which architecture? One tier
One tier.
architecture. MS Office is the example of
One tier.
one tier architecture. In two tier architecture, the desktop application connect directly to which one? Directly to the database. Which database is mentioned in the two tier example?
Postgres.
Postgres. Which technology is used in the front end for the three tier architecture?
Java.
Java.
No.
Sorry.
Java.
Node.js.
No. Node.js. See, which technology is used for front end of the three tier architecture design? Okay. Whenever anyone will ask you this question, so front end development, we are using HTML, JavaScript, jQuery, Angular, React. These all things are basically for the front end design.
Okay.
Okay, so React is the correct answer. React we are using for the front end development. HTML, CSS, and JavaScript belong to which part of the three-tier architecture? So now I think you
Front
know
end.
the answer.
Front end.
Front end. Which of the following is mentioned as a backend technology? Just now I told you which of the following is mentioned as a backend development?
Node.js.
Node.js,
Yes.
okay? Middleware or backend development, this Node.js actually, when let's suppose someone asks you the question ki which technology you knows for the backend development. So backend development we are doing with the help of the Java. We are doing with the help of the C Sharp, Python, Node.js. There are many more languages are there which we can use to develop the backend development. So previously in our previous like batches, till last to last batches, we have given training to develop the backend using the ASP.NET Web API. But now from last two sessions, we are giving training using the Node.js because the reason is there are two very important reason because one thing is Node.js is easy. Okay. As compared to C Sharp.NET or ASP.NET, Node.js is easy, one thing. And second thing is, as you know, the current era or the upcoming time is totally related to the AI. And in upcoming days, people or companies are going to hire AI agent. Okay. People are very, or companies are very less going to hire the human resource. They are going to hire AI agents, which ultimately we will develop. So in AI agent, the very, very big role of the backend development means REST API development. Now these days, if anyone want to learn any good thing, so my suggestion is everyone if going to use the AI development, so everyone has to know REST API, how to develop the REST API. For that, Node.js and Python is my first choice. Anything people can use and learn. Both language is very good, and there are n number of helps also available. In our course, we are going to use Node.js. PostgreSQL is used in which layer of
Database
three
layer.
database layer? Which architecture has multiple business and data layer?
Entire.
Which layer directly interact with the user?
Presentation layer.
Presentation layer. Very good. The structure of a skeleton of an application is called what? Is called the
Architecture.
architecture. Which architecture is commonly used in the modern web application? So normally in modern web application,
Okay.
three-tier architecture is very common. And even we will also means whenever we will develop the application, so we are also planning to develop the application using the three-tier architecture. So in our WhatsApp group, actually I will